Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Barclays Energy Investor Conference kicking off today in New York. Baker Hughes CEO Lorenzo Simonelli attending following a better-than-expected earnings report earlier this summer. The company seeing higher demand for its drilling services and equipment in international markets. I'm pleased to say that joining us around the table is Lorenzo. Good morning, sir.
Great to be with you.
Let's talk about the outlook. You raised the midpoint of that outlook. Competitors did not. A similar story with competitors, though, was this better international backdrop compared to, say, what's happening domestically. What explains that divide that's emerging right now?
I think, first of all, as you look at Baker Hughes, the strength of our portfolio is much broader than just oilfield services. And so as you look at the results that we posted in second quarter and also the increase in guidance, it's really based on that total portfolio capability that we have that extends into rotating equipment, compression, and industrial sectors as well. As you look at the international markets, again, they are going to continue to grow. And again, we said at the beginning of the year, we would see high single-digit growth in the international markets. We retain that view as we go into the second half. And as we go into 2025, the growth will still be there. It will decelerate. And it's really driven by the demand that you're seeing internationally. When you look at the exports, for example, from Saudi Arabia, a lot of that goes to other countries. Very little comes into North America or goes into the developed marketplace. It really is a developing market aspect and the growing population. And demand for energy globally is increasing.
Can you talk to us about the headwinds domestically and where they're coming from? Is it off the back of the consolidation we've seen? We see more careful spending. Is it off the back of lower prices? What's driving it?
There's definitely a lot of the aspects of consolidation that have taken place. There's efficiency also that you're seeing within the production, which has enabled production to stay relatively flat and increasing in some cases. And so domestically, I think, again, we continue to see weakness as we look at the second half of 2024. And then also in 2025, really looking at North America to be flattish. The gas market may be increasing somewhat. But North America is really the operators being very pragmatic with their balance sheet. And again, capital discipline is the name of the game.
Yeah, you need a lot less capital now to produce even more oil than you had in the past. But you think it's going to be flat. Some of the numbers we've run actually see 13.9 million barrels a day coming from North America and then 14 in 2025. Do you think that's an accurate trajectory?
Again, if you look at between 13.9 and 14, you're looking at a very slight difference. And again, it's driven by the efficiency. It's very transactional in North America. So I think it's early to call right now, and we'll continue to monitor it. Baker Hughes is much more focused on the production side and also the chemical side. And I think what we are seeing is really a focus on existing wells and also improving recovery rates from existing wells. And that's where the mature asset solutions that we provide actually have a huge opportunity. And it's actually important to remember, 70% of the world's production comes from mature wells. And that's a well that's been in operation for over 25 years or has 50% of its reserve depleted. If you're able to increase the reserve recovery by 1%, you're going to add 2 to 3 years of the production required globally. So there's a big focus on capital discipline and maximizing the recovery rates from the mature assets that are available.
You also mentioned gas. Can we talk about liquefied natural gas? Because yesterday we actually saw the Energy Department go ahead with an export license because the Biden moratorium on these export licenses, the courts have pushed back. Is that a sign that potentially we could see more LNG come online?
First of all, very pleased that the license was given, and congratulations to the team there. I think as you look at the global expectations, it's that the moratorium actually ceases in 2025. As you look at the LNG demand, it's expected to increase. We've predicted that by 2030, we need an installed base capacity of 800 million tons per annum, and the US can contribute to that. That being said, you're never sure until it's done, and international projects are continuing to go forward as well. So the LNG will be available, and hopefully the United States also participates, as it's got plenty of gas that it can export.
A big focus on this program over the last, I would say, 6 months or so has been the burden that's going to emerge on the energy grid in this country in the next several years. Every single day we talk about NVIDIA and CapEx spend coming from some major tech players, spending money, throwing money at data centers. Can you walk us through just the scale of demand you're expecting to see and what you're hearing from some of these utility providers and some of these companies, these tech firms, and the need for off-grid solutions that you can provide? How big is that growth opportunity for you?
It is a significant growth opportunity. And I think you said earlier, this isn't just about today. It is a long-term trend. If you look at some of the statistics out there, generative AI, the consumption of electricity by data centers, it's expected to double by 2026. That's going from 2% to 4% of the electricity usage. Think about that. That's the same amount of electricity that Japan uses on an annual basis. So from an installed capacity perspective, it's a significant increase. What do we have as a challenge? Grid stability, and also, I live in Houston. Today I have power outages on a continuous basis. And we need off-grid solutions, and that's where distributed power comes in. That's where opportunities for modular capabilities of gas turbines that are packaged, smaller, off-grid, and they provide the stability to the data centers for ongoing operations. Because the other important aspect is intermittency is important because a data center can't go down. So you need to have that consistency of power generation.
What does growth look like in this area currently, and what will growth look like in the years to come for you exclusively, specifically?
For us, if you look at the industrial gas turbines that we provide, significant opportunity. Just look at the ratio of the increase on the electricity utilization from 2 to 4%. So we're looking and working with the hyperscalers, looking at the ecosystem, and we're looking at the opportunity of mini gas turbines being sold into this marketplace.
What's the overall contribution to your revenue mix do you expect to come from that in the next, say, several years? The reason I ask that question is we've seen a big rally in utility companies in line with the rally we've seen in AI firms. And if we're to sit here today and think about the changing characteristics of your stock, I'd need to know what the contribution from that area would be to the overall top and bottom line. What's that going to look like in years to come?
Yeah, as we look at it, and again, this could be from 500 megawatts to 1.5 gigawatts, and that's what we're looking at from a scaling perspective. And again, from a dollar perspective, it's going to range based on 500 million to potentially larger, and it's going to come over a series of years as we go forward. We look at it as a major new area that we can focus on. We've participated before, and we've played in distributed power generation, and we look at this as a growth vector for Baker Hughes.
A big concern to the U.S. energy industry has always been these cyber attacks, whether it's Colonial, what's recently happened with Halliburton. Have you seen any impact?
So we haven't seen any impact. Again, though, we're very vigilant. Obviously, cybersecurity is a big concern for everybody, and we're all taking the measures accordingly to put the controls in place and very much vigilant on a daily basis.
What does that look like, meaning being vigilant? Is that having the proper systems in place? Is there a lot of communication with the U.S. government?
There's definitely communication that takes place across the sector, and there's also trade associations that discuss it. From a standpoint of vigilance, it means making sure that we're doing our own testing on our own systems, making sure that we're putting in the controls, we're patching with the new security that's available, and also doing our own phishing exercises. And so we've got a team that continuously, red team, blue team, and we test our own systems. But I also say you can never be too careful. And you've got to stay vigilant, and you've got to be prepared.
You've got a really busy day ahead of you. Before we let you go, this conversation's got a time horizon of multiple decades. The time horizon of this market at the moment is about 5 minutes. Can we just reflect on yesterday's price action? What's going on in crude, in energy markets at the moment? Is there a real tangible concern from your side around demand in China? What's it all about?
I think you're always going to have volatility on a daily basis, and it's something we deal with in the business world. At the same time, leading a company, you got to focus on the fundamentals and the fundamentals of the long-term trajectory and make the right investment decisions. That's what we're doing at Baker Hughes. And if you look at the macro tailwinds, I think it's undeniable that energy demand is continuing to increase. As you look at the population and you look at the development of nations, you also look at developed nations that are now seeing that they don't have enough energy as well, such as here in the United States. So we look at the macro aspect, and we're definitely seeing positive tailwinds.
Do you feel like the attitude to fossil fuels has shifted in the last 12 months? Do you think governments, particularly in the West, have had a bit of a reality check?
I think there is an understanding that it's not just about an energy transition, it's also about an energy expansion. And it's not about the fuel type, it's about reducing emissions. And that's where gas plays a key role because it is abundant, it's available, and you need affordable, secure, reliable energy.
Lorenzo, appreciate it. You've got a long day ahead of you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lorenzo Simonelli there, the Baker Hughes CEO.